How'd you like to get that EVGA keyboard and mouse for just about half off? That's the EVGA Elite program. And you can sign up, and it doesn't cost anything. You can also get in the queue for GPUs, things like the RTX 3090. You can sign up and, at least get your name in the queue so that eventually when it does restock, there's at least the option to buy. But you also get discounts and coupons and special access to things and stuff like that. EVGA is building their elite member army. Level1Techs has a code, so at checkout, if you want to use our associate code, Level1Techs, we get a little bit of a benefit from that. It is an affiliate code, but EVGA sponsored this video, so thanks EVGA. Be sure to check out that affiliate program, and you get 24 hours of early access when they come out with new hardware. So if they're coming out with a new model GPU, hint hint, you can put your name in the ring to reserve one 24 hours before everybody else. It doesn't cost anything to join. Really, all you're giving up is your email address for EVGA. Why not? I'm Wendell, this is Level 1. Thanks EVGA for sponsoring this video. Be sure to check out that link below, sign up for the Elite program, and tell them we sent you. The purpose of this video is for me to convey my experiences building this system and using the Master Air MA624 Stealth dual tower fan twice the performance. Dual tower, dual fan twice the performance. That's the tagline. But also this is a Ryzen 5950X and this is a pretty reasonable build. Some of the parts were on sale at Micro Center. You could do worse for a build. There's a lot to talk about here. And yes, there's a Noctua fan on the desk, which implies we're gonna be doing some comparison. I know. Calm yourself. Stay tuned. So the Master Air MA624, it's a dual tower cooler, like they said on the box, meaning there's two heat sinks and you just shove a fan in between them. A nice 140mm fan like this with the rounded corners. In the box is actually 3 fans. Got 2 of these, and you've got one 120mm fan. Oddly, there's only one set of fan brackets, but you get the little rubber mounts and anti-vibration pads and all that kind of stuff. The 120mm fan is really meant if you have memory clearance issues. And on just about every motherboard, you'll have memory clearance issues. This is designed for Intel, LGA 1200, AM4, AM3, some of the upcoming stuff. I mean, it's basically compatible with everything except Threadripper. I've got it set up in our, this is the NZXT S340 case. This was $9 at Micro Center. Do you know why? $9 for this case? Just because of a crack and a couple little scratches? That's appealing. So for the motherboard, we've got the ASRock Creator X570. That came out a while ago. Did everybody just forget about it? This is an AM4 motherboard, an AMD motherboard, with onboard Thunderbolt 3 and 10 gigabit Aquantia Ethernet. I've got the Phantom Gaming 6800 XT in here. Right now, I think it's got 32 gigabytes of memory, which is, just 2 sticks of memory, dual rank. That's pretty awesome for this configuration. It's an enormous nickel-plated copper base plate, a lot of copper heat pipes. 6 in total, though the Noctua's got 7. Ooh, will that be enough? This is basically the most BA multimedia workstation that you can go before you have to go Threadripper. For storage, I'm using a Kioxia SSD. I mean, Kioxia is new and that kind of thing. I'm actually using an enterprise variant of those SSDs. I've got it set up here so I can run RAID 0 for performance, which this is done for convenience. You shouldn't do it like this on an expansion card. You should actually mount those M.2s directly on your motherboard under the heatsink. There's plenty of bandwidth to run those in that configuration. I'm looking at actually breaking out to use U.2 drives, the Kioxia U.2, but I need a PCI Express 4 to M.2 adapter. Those are not here yet. Those are coming from, I think, China or Hong Kong. It requires redrivers. It's a little complicated to build those. But when those get here, I've got to revisit this with those Kioxia U.2 drives. I'm going to put 2 in the bottom. So instead of being SATA drives in the bottom for the mounting hardware setup that we got for this case, yeah, we're going to be running U.2 drives or U.3, depending on what kind of an adapter I get. But it's because I need all of the IOPS and the comparison system and that sort of thing. So benchmarks. Okay, yes, the build is very nice. Let's talk about benchmarks. This is a 5950X. It's one of the hardest to tame, 7nm Zen 3 CPUs out there. It's 2 chiplets, 8 cores per chiplet. It's unlocked. PBO is on. This thing is going to draw upwards of 200 watts in that configuration. Well, I've got some good news. Both of these tower coolers are able to prevent this CPU from throttling under those conditions, this particular CPU. I mean, your mileage may vary with PBO. You know, Cinnabitch, 11,000 and some. You can take a look at this score and get an idea. Is your scoring significantly worse? Okay, you're doing something wrong. The most impressive thing about this cooler is that it could do this with 2 fans tied behind its back. With PBO on and running hardware info 64 and, you know, and running the Prime 95 stress test, this thing can heat soak for almost an hour. Yeah, a tower cooler that can heat soak for almost an hour. Well, you can offset that if you increase the cooling. It's just because it was right on the razor's edge of how much heat that the fans could actually carry away. Under any kind of normal workload, including running Cinebench over and over and over and over and over and over again, the cores were only just tickling 80 degrees C. It really wasn't anything to be worried about. The idle performance of both of these coolers, honestly, is very, very impressive. I mean, the U12A, it's a push-pull configuration. It's a relatively compact tower. This, with the side on the case, there's not even an extra millimeter of room. This will get the job done. And this is the Noctua quality that we've all come to know and love. And really, this is one of the few tower coolers that, with PBO and you know, letting the Ryzen 9 5950X stretch its legs, is one of the few tower coolers that could really do it. Until now, with the Master Air MA624 Stealth. This cooler is really impressive. Now, it's a lot more massive, and the fans are a lot more massive. So that's kind of cheating, but also really awesome. The one advantage that the Noctua has is that it's offset. And I really wish that Cooler Master had done this for AM4 configuration, so you can kind of see that it's set back. That gives you much better RAM clearance. Cooler Master, I think, realized this, and that's why they included the 120mm fan. So if we use this 120mm fan, it's going to sit right on top of our G-Skill memory. It's not a problem. What if you cheaped out and got this somewhat slower but larger capacity? This is 128 gigabytes of memory. Yeah, these are two 64 gig sticks. They've got these ridiculous wings. What do you do if you're in that situation? Well, in that situation, this fan won't really fit on the front, and the case will close. But it does clear the mechanical parts of the heatsink, so Cooler Master took that into account. Nice job. Even if you're running a 4-up configuration, so even this ridiculously tall memory, you can still use. It's just that this fan would be sitting so far up that the side of the case is just, it's not going to go on. Fortunately, in this configuration, that doesn't really matter. We've got two 140mm fans in the front of this case, blowing lots of air into the front of this. We've got our one fan in the middle of our heatsink sandwich, and that's more than enough airflow, even with PBO, for our 5950X, even with the side on, even letting it run for a while, even with our 6800 XT blast furnace of a graphics card, 3 400-watt connectors. Yeah, it's fine. It's completely fine. As I'm probably going to use this system for testing some other different CPUs and maybe some different configurations, like maybe how much performance is there between the 3950X and a 5950X. Removing this heatsink is really easy. It's just these two screws. You don't need a special screwdriver. You don't need an extra long screwdriver. The screws are built into the heatsink, and they are absurdly long. So you can just unscrew these two screws, the entire heatsink comes out. The mounting mechanism, the thing that screws in through the holes in the motherboard for AM4, it's a little bit more complicated. It's a little bit more ridiculous. It's a little bit more fiddly. You're gonna have a lot of parts that you have to install. It's not quite as easy as the Noctua setup, where I just have to put a bracket on and 4 screws. It's close, but I like the Noctua setup a little bit more, with the exception of Noctua's screws are shorter. So you gotta take the fans off with this, and then you need a long screwdriver. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but with this you don't need a long screwdriver, it just works. In terms of noise profile versus noise profile, the Noctua fans are a little bit louder. I mean, they have slightly higher static pressure, have a little bit different engineering. I mean, there's the plastic and the way that the Noctua fans are engineered are tighter tolerances. Not that there's anything wrong with the Cooler Master sickle flow fans. It's just that, you know, like the gap between the fan and the hub. It's a little bit more forgiving of wobble, and you know, the case of the fan might flex a little bit depending on how you've got this clipped. So they have to sort of take all that into account in manufacturing when they're doing that. The Noctua fans are not really like that. It's not really like a pro or con. It's just a difference in choices that were made for the engineering. Personally, I like the fact that this tower cooler from Cooler Master came with 3 fans, because I'm gonna mount one here in the top. This case from NZXT came with 3 fans, one at the rear, 2 at the front. There's not one right here. Well, guess what? I've at least got this one left over. I can just shove that in the top and you're good to go. Which is, again, you know, a little surprising that it didn't include the extra set of brackets, because you could do push, pull, push. Seems like that would only be like 12 more cents of plastic, and it would sit right here at the back. It's of limited utility given that the exhaust fan is right there, but you know, it's still a dual fan configuration if you've got the redonkulous memory. OLOY, OLOE, OLOWoo. I gave you what you needed to know in the first minute or 2 of this video. Everything else has just been rambling. That's how we do it at level 1. I'm Wendell, this is level 1. If you're doing a build like this, or you want to ask questions or show off or whatever, come to the forums at Level1Techs. I'm Wendell, I'm signing out, and I'll see you there.